for the people who are still in the off-market business, one thing that I have done that has revived some old leads is just...
We got to get you one of like the really loud mechanical keyboards like I have, so it sounds like you're using a typewriter over there.
No. That thing is loud.
That's how people know that you mean business, though. The louder the typewriter you have.
It means you're a nerd. You're a gamer.
Yeah.
All the gamer guys I know have like weird keyboards, like with lights and shit in them.
Yeah, well, it's like the geek equivalent of like grunting in the gym. You know, people they need to hear you to know that you're doing it right. You know, it's very important.
I can't do that at Planet Fitness. Sets off the lump alarm.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to Collecting Keys. I'm your host, Mike DeHaan, here with my co-host, Dan Austin and Dylan Cook. Hello. And let's listen, see if Dan's keyboard goes. Oh, he stopped. There we go. He means business. That's how you know he's really getting stuff done over there.
Dan still types with like his fingers, like an old person.
It's like an iPad.
Hey, it's not his fault. It's because of the injuries he got to his hands in the war. Okay, stop making fun of disabled veterans.
You know what? This is actually a funny thing because what I've noticed recently in the last few years is my typing skills have actually gotten significantly worse. And I realized because I was teaching my daughter how to type, like we were talking about typing. She's like, "What are those bumps on the keyboard for?" Right? And I was like, "Oh, let me give you a lesson." Back in the day, you know, you put your fingers here and you do typing class. But I've noticed that I literally just sling letters pretty much the most of the day. And once in a while, like I get it right. I think my brain's just like, I've been typing too long. My brain.
It's just muscle memory. Yeah.
My brain is like not thinking what it's doing and it's just going.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, and well, it's funny because you don't realize how much of a skill that is until you're around people that don't have that. And then you're like, oh boy. Or even like navigating computer in general. Because like we're pretty savvy, just like with all the different platforms that you've had to use. I think just because of our age group, but then also, you know, getting technical degrees, you kind of like had to learn to use Excel to do like our physics labs and shit that we had in college.
Right.
And like a lot of people just never did that. Like we've had people on our team that are in their 50s and they've been in a corporate environment before, but then they have to add something like in Excel or like we would put in these like pricing tools on Excel for them to be able to determine offers for acquisitions like that. Yep. They couldn't use it at all. That was an interesting thing when we were really growing the scale community a couple of years ago. And we had like these different tools and stuff that I put together that I was very proud of. I'm like, yeah, these are all the templates and things that we use for all of our offers for sub-twos, whatever. Like 3/4 of the people had no idea how the hell to use it.
Yep.
And I was like, well, I guess that's useless.
This is perfectly summed up with like the meme that says, me watching my superior who makes 3 times more than me struggle to save a PDF.
Oh, God.
And you know what's hilarious? Dan, literally yesterday, he sent me a bunch of things and he said, can you save these as PDFs for me?
No. Okay. I have a good excuse for that. I have 100% good. So this came to a head this week because I finally gave up on Mac. So I've had a MacBook for a few years now. And it's the worst. It's the worst system I hate it. I can't stand it.
I love my Mac.
I hate it. It's the biggest piece of shit. And so, you know, when you get a locked PDF from like a title company, and so you have to get the password and then you can open it. Well, you can't save it because it'll just save it. So you have to print as PDF. Guess what my Mac refused to do? It would not print it as a PDF. And I was like, God damn it. So I had to send it to Mike to do. So then now I'm getting a new computer.
Yeah.
I hate it so bad. It's so hard to like have like multiple tabs open. Maybe I'm just dumb, but it's so hard to operate with a Mac.
You'd be like the government with the redacted Epstein files, where apparently you could just copy and paste it and it wasn't redacted anymore.
Hell yeah.
That one would have got me. I would have been like, shit, there's black on it. I'm fucked. Can't get it off.
Yeah, it's like the problem is they edited these Epstein files with a Canva template, you know, so it's really easy just to go and modify it.
Dude.
You can actually download the template from the White House official Canva. Yeah.
From Canva.
I've had a wholesaler send me a redacted contract that was just like on Microsoft Paint. I could literally go in and just see what they had the contract price for.
Really?
Like, yeah, it's happened to me. I was like, well, you're an idiot. But thanks.
That's so funny. It's like when people you get like the new wholesaler who sends out a dispo email and they accidentally put their entire buyers list in like the two or the CC. I'm like, well, thank you. These are all my buyers now. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, right.
Got it.
Until half of them get rejected for like email doesn't exist or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, right.
100%.
Yeah, they have them respond back and they're like, reply all. And they're like, remove me from this list. And you're getting freaking blown up.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I remember when I was at Boeing, one of the most exciting things that happened while I was there was somebody sent out like a team-wide email, but instead of doing it in BCC, they did it to like the two. And so there was like 6,000 people on this. It was like a ridiculous email, right? And they sent it out, and so many people replied back.
Oh my God.
Saying like, remove me from this distribution list. And then other people were replying back saying, just don't answer, and they won't send it again. And so there you have like this basically mob of people that were all going back and forth. And it was so significant that it crashed the email system.
That's great. That's like classic corporate America.
I'm like physically cringing from that.
Yeah.
Like I would be so mad.
This is a company that builds things that fly across the ocean. And this is how terrible their internal systems are, that if there's like an accidental email chain, it brings everything down.
We haven't had a Boeing, plane go down in a while.
At least 30 days.
Yeah, at least 30 days. God, not that we know of. Anyways,
that's wild.
So right on, guys. Well, I think we start with some of the big news since this came out yesterday, and everyone has been talking about it. And I've seen about 50 different versions of this that are wrong. But Trump made his announcement that he was going to make a move to, I would say, like ban institutional buyers from buying single family homes. And it's very funny to me that he's done this because it's like very uncapitalistic, which is kind of like the root of the Republican motto, right? They're antisocial and very pro-capitalist. But it's also like something that you can't necessarily regulate because there's so many ways to get around it. So it just feels to me like it's very like pandery to the peasants.
100%.
During the election year, he's just like saying something that regardless of the aisle the side of the aisle that you're on, affording a house is hard right now. And everyone seems to think that there's this big scapegoat that is the institutional investors.
Right. Yeah.
But the funny thing is, if you look at the actual numbers, institutional investors own like the big money own an extremely small amount of real estate in the United States.
What's the number?
So Blackstone's the biggest one. Okay. They are currently invested in about 600,000 homes from what I saw across the United States.
How many homes are there?
Millions and millions, like tens of millions, like hundreds of millions, probably more than that.
Let's see. No, really? 100? No, not hundreds of million.
The numbers I've seen is only 4% of the whole housing stock is owned by,
It's incredibly small.
There's 145 million housing units. I guess
Correct.
That would probably include apartments. Yeah, I was thinking houses.
You would need single families. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
okay.
Either way, it's a lot, right? Like, and so what they own less than 1 million total. They're usually concentrated in like specific areas. It's not like they're like scattershot across the entire thing and they have these stakeholders. There'll be like a surplus in like Phoenix and all these sort of things, right? And then like to your point, Dylan, like the total sum that I've seen, like I guess like the total percentage, if you look at like all of them, was about 4%. And so that's a relatively small number.
So according to Gemini, there's 82 million homes, 82 to 86 single family homes, and 68 million are owned by owner occupants. So there's not that many that are even owned. Percentage, like overall percentage, is still owned by Americans.
Correct.
Like individuals. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. The bigger problem is like, how many of the boomer people who have inflated who aren't selling, who have a paid off mortgage or have a 2% interest rate. So there's not selling, right? Like, that's the bigger.
No, we should tax them based on that asset value.
Well, I mean,
Dylan's like, okay. Idiot. Dylan's like, are you that dumb? Oh, I can't do it.
Dylan's like, I'm libertarian. Taxes make my brain hurt.
I mean, you can't.
That's like the billionaire tax. That's the idea, right? The billionaire tax in California, they want to tax your total asset value.
Yeah, but how many of the ordinary Americans, like what, 70% of net worth is their primary residence. So like you're just fucking their only like livelihood.
I know.
Sounds like a them problem, Dylan. Come on.
Sounds like a them problem.
Look at it from the higher ups. It's their problem.
I'm more anti-boomer, and boomers have had the Goldilocks of economic headwinds.
Maybe those boomers that are worried about that should pull their bootstraps up and get a fucking job, right? That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
That's what they said to everybody else.
I have a good argument for this, but I don't want to go down that pipe because I do want to keep talking about this topic here, which I think is an interesting one because I would love to hear what your guys' opinions are on what's going to actually happen.
Have any details actually come out about what he entails to do with that?
No, of course not, dude.
No, and couldn't you just have every entity, a holding company and everything underneath it owns 99 homes, right? So how are you going to police that?
Right. You're not.
So, which is what they already do.
Yeah.
And so like, it's just like how during like the 21 and 22 period, people would sell to these hedge funds. They would all have different names. They were all different subsidiaries of typically BlackRock, because they're the ones if you like actually figured out where they were going to. Right. And so they just set up these different companies. They own the company because there's no law against owning companies. Right. They're going to say that like companies that you can't own a company that owns real estate. Right. Like, why can't you just have 200,000 companies if you wanted to own 200,000 homes? Technically, you could. Right. LLC. It's not like it's that incredibly hard to file that, especially if you are a massive company of BlackRock. It doesn't matter. Yeah. It costs an extra $1,000 for them to file that every year. They don't give a shit.
Yeah.
It's a good thing that this has been all over my Facebook and people arguing, being dumb about it. And they're like, and all this kind of stuff. But it's a thing that's a headline that the normal person can grasp, like, that's a good idea. I can get behind that. And that's kind of feels like all it is.
It's a bait because Trump's trying to get the liberals to argue how we need institutional buyers to buy all the real estate up.
I don't know if that train of thought is where I'd go, but
well, I think it is.
You don't think so?
I actually kind of agree with Dan on that because I think that there's this whole thing. This is always like the joke is they will always disagree with Trump on everything. So now he's saying something that they obviously would agree with. And so he's basically trying, that was their platform. And so now he's trying to basically rage bait them into doing contradictory stuff.
And I 100% believe Trump would do that.
Absolutely.
Like do stuff like that.
Well, he doesn't think that way because he's barely cognizant. But the people that are behind him that run his trollish social media, absolutely.
I actually think he probably has a lot to say when it comes to that stuff. Dude, his ego's so big, he's just like, I'm saying this. You guys shut up. And now he's probably got people on his team that are like, yeah, say it, dog.
Oh, absolutely they do, man. I mean, that's like their whole thing.
I think we're all in agreement, though. Like, this isn't going to move the needle.
No, it's not going to do anything.
Yeah.
No,
it's literally just pandering to get votes in a midterm year.
Okay, let's get away from the politics thing. And let's just say it's actually going to happen. Let's say Trump does it. He's just loves Americans and he's going to make sure that we're better off for this. What's going to happen in the market?
Well, what actually happens in general? Can they not buy new homes? Can they not own them? You can't force them to sell what they already have, right? Do you create incentives that will make it so undesirable for them to own them that it kind of like forces them to sell it as a result?
There's a good case study of this in Cincinnati, though. There's like Vinebrook Homes. It's a big hedge fund. They're publicly traded. They're a REIT. And they owned a ton of stuff in the city of Cincinnati, but they got a lot of backlash from the city. So the city kept fining them. And like, they knew which ones. If you had your grass was 3 inches tall, they'd fine them.
I love it.
And eventually Vinebrook's like, we're not buying here anymore. So like they did kind of weed them out just from a regulatory perspective.
Yeah. So it's almost like code violations is basically what they did.
Yeah.
I want that here where we live.
I know, no shit. But I mean, like that's one thing. So what are they going to go and say that if you're an institution that owns homes that they have to be perfectly manicured? That doesn't make sense.
I think I don't care about that. Sorry. I want to add my point.
Oh, no worries. I'm just trying, like what I'm trying to figure out is what they can actually do. But yeah, go for it, Dan.
Yeah. So I guess I shouldn't say I don't care about that. What I want to talk about is if that exists, if that law exists among capitalism is always going to find the most efficient way to make money. So what's that next most efficient way to do it? And I think BlackRock or whoever's these hedge funds owning these, in a hypothetical world, if this was a significant part of their, investment strategy, they would find a new way to do this. Sure, you could do the LLC loophole, but say they close that out. So maybe it's single family homes. Okay, well, we'll just buy all the duplexes. They like duplexes too. Like they'll just like wherever the most efficient way to make money. It might not be the same as they were doing before. It'll just find a different way. And what it points at is this idea of housing affordability. That's what it's speaking to, because really what probably is Trump has heard from his team, if I had to guess, is that, hey, there's a lot of people that talk about housing affordability. The poors out there say that it's hard to get a house. Now, I've got a lot of points to make on that, but what I would say is I don't think that fixing the housing prices is the right thing to do, because fundamentally what Trump is saying in that statement, or what people believe when they say that statement, is that these guys are driving up prices because they're buying all the houses from people, and then we have to rent. There's no stock available for us to buy, which we all know that that's not the truth underlying it. They're not driving up prices like that. They may be in some time frames and in some micro markets that happened. But what you're fundamentally doing then is you're rooting against the American economy, which is super heavily based on housing and super heavily based on just like the American dream of owning a home and all that stuff. And so you're saying, I want the market to go down, which would be way more devastating to the American economy, which Trump doesn't want, none of us want, than having people be able to afford a home. Because you're essentially taking what you said earlier, Dylan, was like the biggest wealth capture for most Americans is the equity in their home. And the baby boomers who are all retiring right now and wanting to probably sell their homes, you're taking all that wealth out. And that's fundamentally what you're saying, is you're rooting against the American economy because you want the housing prices to go down.
The problem is you look too long-term. Politicians don't look long-term. They just look at what's going to happen over the next year.
But even just the average person that says this, right? Because Trump didn't come up with this idea. He doesn't care. The thought actually crossed my mind that the BlackRock CEO said something to Trump and he's like, hold my beer, bitch.
Probably.
You pissed me off or you wouldn't do what I wanted you to do. So I'm going to say something.
Their stock was down like 9%. Yeah.
Their stock was down. And so for Trump, that's a power move if that was the case. That did cross my mind. But I just think a lot of people that talk about affordability and how they hate the landlord, they hate these people. Like, you own my apartment building, that means you're a piece of shit. Or you own my house, that means you're a piece of shit. Really, you're rooting for the American economy to go down. Is that what you want?
Well, the boomers have inflated 401ks and IRAs, and they also have the equity in their home, right? Like they're kind of got the Goldilocks scenario for wealth building over younger generational classes. Trump was even on an interview where he alluded to this. He's like, well, I don't want to crash housing prices because of the people who are retiring. But at the same time, you want to give people who are younger the opportunity to buy a house to create that equity. You're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. I don't see a way where you can hurt one without hurting the other.
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, because it's all connected. And I think along those lines is eventually the baby boomers are going to pass on that wealth, or they're going to die, or whatever. That housing inventory is going to loosen up. And I've believed this for a long time. When I first learned this, I don't know when I learned this, maybe 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, when people were like, the baby boomers are the largest generation, and the millennials, who is fundamentally are right behind the baby boomers, right? Most of our parents are baby boomers, right? There's a Gen X squeezed in there, but fundamentally the millennials are the largest generation, making the boomers the second largest. Well, we're building housing inventory for everybody because we're all adults. We're all living together. We all need houses. My parents need houses. Your parents have houses, and we have houses. Eventually, they're going to die, and we don't need their houses.
Yeah. Well, we don't. Other people might.
But somebody does. But so then that large, which is going to happen over the next 10 years, that large argument that the housing stock is underbuilt, that shifts because all those houses come back on as inventory. So that's kind of like the long-term thought is like, it will happen. It's just not going to happen today for the last 4-year term or this 4-year term for this Congress or this president.
One thing I think to round out this conversation that I think it's more of like a higher level discussion, I guess, but it's ever since 2008, housing has become more of a financial instrument than it was in the past. And that's because of QE, because of manipulation of the currency. And so I almost put more of the blame on the Federal Reserve and Congress and the Treasury because of the manipulation of the dollar, of quantitative, of printing all this money. People use real estate as a financial means, which like they still did that before that, but not near to the same extent. And I'm included in that. So like, don't get me wrong. I learned the game and I'm playing it, but like, I almost think if it wasn't for that, most people would still view homes as, especially single family homes, as that's where you live, not a financial utility for my retirement.
Yeah. It was like a form of stability, right? Instead of an actual means to an end to be able to retire and like the American dream and everything else. But I mean, like, I do think that they have kind of intentionally gone that way because it forces there to be some stability for people that are older. Like, it's almost like if people can get into homes, it does give them that. So it allows them to, I don't want to say like a theory that I have. They do occasionally make sort of like long-term plays. And so there's a lot of talking about Social Security. Mm-hmm. Technically, if people have another opportunity to have some kind of payday, you wouldn't need Social Security anymore, right? And that can be a home, that can be a 401k, whatever. Not everyone has 401k has been discovered through companies and stuff like that. But if more people can get into a home and like that's like a platform that you can like push people to, or even if it's like subsidized housing, right? That they like build equity and ownership in, that can take place of a Social Security sort of setup, right? Or like getting actual government cash benefits. You know, and if you choose to exercise or not, that's up to you. But I've thought this for a while that like, I feel like there might have been some view to be able to push people to that. Like, that's why they started like bailing out all these banks and things like that. And like really promoting that push towards home ownership with like the Fannie Freddie loans and everything being following like the federal rates. Because when they were doing that, all the federal government was doing was making it easier for people to get into houses with cheaper debt. Because now it's no longer completely private. It's based off of the federal government and what they're willing to pay, which is very much more like a macroeconomic thing. So
I think if you live in a pure capitalistic society, the government would not be involved in, I shouldn't say like at all, but they would have a much lesser role. And that's buying mortgage-backed securities. That's part of the FHA. That's the whole 9 yards.
If we lived in a fully capitalistic society, there would be a company that takes place of the government that basically does all those things instead.
So it's funny because even though I am more libertarian and capitalistic, I do think there's a place for like trust busting and like not having monopolies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a role for that. When you get into the housing and like what's a I won't even say human right, but like what's best for the average American. It's a more nuanced conversation.
Yeah. Well, and the problem is that's very, like you said, it's nuanced, that varies heavily based off of people's circumstances and everything else. And that's why it's a super complex issue, is basically, if you look at the countries people like to idolize, Japan's always like a big one, Scandinavia, those people that live there are all the same.
Yeah. It's easy to get them in line.
Yeah, that's not even like a racist comment. Like they are literally the same people. They have the same upbringing. They have the same set of like values as a culture. Like, they have different personal interests, different family situations, whatever, but they don't have like some people that came from Ireland, some people that came from Africa, some people that are from Central and South America, some people that are Native American, right? Like they don't have that. Somalia. Yeah. They got a lot of Somalians, right? They're crushing it right now.
They're learning their lessons.
Yeah. But the point is like that doesn't exist in those other countries. And so it's much easier to have a singular solution that a central federal government can kind of like forecast for. Not only that, but the country is so much smaller. This is always the biggest thing with the United States that people don't tend to understand if you don't live here, is how incredibly huge the US is and how different everywhere is. Mm-hmm. For us in Washington State, the culture here is 1000% different from Miami, Florida.
Oh,
It's not even close. That is like comparing Scotland to Greece. Like it is just not a comparable thing.
And isn't like DFW, the GDP output's like the same as Denmark, like the entire country or something like that? Yeah.
California, I think as a state, last time I saw it was like 7 or 8 in the world.
Yeah.
In terms of GDP.
Yeah.
It's 4th largest GDP in the world right now, currently. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is wild. That's huge. America's number 1, right? And then was China number 2? Yeah. Who's 3? Japan?
Yeah. And then California.
I mean, they're basically competing with China.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So it's just different. And like, any changes that happen here at like a federal level, it's just so overly complicated, and there's not really a good solution that will please everybody ever. It's just not possible.
No, I think you have to, honestly, my recommendation is put a lot of decision-making back in local jurisdictions, what housing they want, and then hopefully deregulate from that point, and then just let that kind of play out with who's going to build. And I mean, Austin's a good example of people who build a lot of housing and then now rent, like prices are down from the peaks, right?
Yeah. I think that's a great point, actually, Dylan. And it's like getting back to the basics. We talk about a lot of polarizing federal politics, but it feels like going back local is what everybody needs to realize is more advantageous to them. Getting involved in like your local like communities and your local governments and helping influence laws that affect you, because what the federal government does have an effect on everybody because we're all fall underneath it. But it doesn't have to. It shouldn't. I don't think that was the founding fathers' intentions, was that we all just are sucking off the teat of the American government. Like, no, it should be like local. And so I feel like you can solve a lot of these housing issues locally.
In fact, I'm pretty sure it's quite the opposite, because they did that to get away from the monarchy, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
but really nobody's rooting for who's on their city council. They're rooting for red or blue up at the White House, but that should not really have that big of an effect.
Do you even know who's on our city council?
I know a couple of them, but I'm also not in the city.
I see the fucking trash signs that they leave out for years. I don't know if those people got elected or not. All I see is just the pollution that they do on both sides.
They're probably running on anti-litter campaigns too.
Absolutely.
100%. Yeah.
That's the irony of it.
Yeah. Anyways, so I guess to round that out, what it means, like, will it change anything? No. Is it just them getting clicks and trying to distract from the fact that ICE murdered somebody in Minneapolis yesterday? Absolutely. Just had to throw it in there.
Well, here's the question. Is it a defensive murder?
Let's not talk about this on here.
Like it's so hard to know. So this is when it comes to like police violence stuff.
Oh, Mike and I will talk about this, Dylan.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, we're going to be on the same side with this.
Mike and I probably will be.
The problem is, like, when you look at these kind of things in like reflection, right? You always like see the video. People always are fucking slowing it down and they're looking at it, right? It's like the same as when you're watching, bad comparison, somebody died, but like when you're watching sports and you're like, how did that guy miss the fucking catch? And they're showing it in slow motion and they're like, look, it's like right in his hands. So lots of things. Like what you didn't see is like the mental game that's going on, what's going on. Like in that situation, there was obviously some kind of conflict. Those people were engaged in an argument. There were people around the car. Right. Mm-hmm. That guy, like he is in a flight or fight mode, the guy that shot that lady. Right. And the car moved. He doesn't know what's going to happen. He has 0.1 second to make a decision. He made the wrong decision and killed this person that, if you look at it, in the video, right, was like trying to steer out of there, whatever, and murdered somebody. The response to it is like, it's very inappropriate, right? When you have all these people saying that like the guy's in the hospital shit, which is just not true.
Yeah. People want to win so bad on like an argument. It's like political all of a sudden.
But the problem is like at that 2-second window when that happened, there's an infinite number of variables and there are people that are fearing for their lives and they're going to make decisions. And that decision will always intrinsically be in what will protect them. Yeah. Right. And so like when it comes to any of these like police violence things and stuff that happens, it's so challenging because you'll look at those scenarios and there's so many things like where it gets sketchy is like the George Floyd stuff where he was like on his neck for like an hour. Yeah. You know, I was like, that's fucked up. Like you had a long time to like change your mind. You didn't do it. When it comes to like this split second thing, it's a tragedy. It's bad all around. Like there's no winning that argument. You know, like is that guy supposed to just accept that he might have been hit by a car and not do that? No, like that's not realistic. Should that lady not have like tried to accelerate out of the situation? Probably, but she didn't know if they were going to shoot her right there, right? She was afraid.
Yeah.
There's no correct way to answer it.
I think the more challenging topic is like so many people on social media are experts right now and they're telling you what happened. It's
they're watching the game tape, right?
I don't know. I actually don't know what happened. I saw a news clip, which could be completely wrong, is that she came through the ICE investigation and tried to stop them from doing something. I also heard that their vehicle was stuck in the ditch and they're trying to get it out. There's a lot of stuff.
There's like 100 different angles online. There's all these people that were filming the whole thing. You can see it from all angles. It's fully open to interpretation, but it's impossible to see the mental patterns that were going on there.
Well, I guess what I'm saying too is like, why was that lady there? What's my point? I don't have any idea why. And so
they had stopped traffic. Like there was like a series of cars and she was trying to get out of the situation.
See, I don't know that.
There's cars in front of her that are stopped. There's cars behind her. There's all these ICE people on the street. There's all these people with cameras. I don't know what her deal was. And she was like just trying to fucking get to work. And she's like, what the hell is this going on? And then
she's trying to get to the Leering Center, dude. Leave her alone.
Is that what was happening? I don't know.
I have no idea. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. My point is I don't know. I'm not going to pass judgment. I'm an asshole. I always tend to disagree whenever there's a police shooting because, and this is a unique situation and I'm not trying to apply it, but I'm just trying to use my logic as somebody who's carried a gun before and done this as like a job, not a police officer, but in the military. Like I never will question the person that was behind the gun because you don't know what they saw. Absolutely. You physically don't know what they saw from their perspective. However, I'm an asshole, like I said, and anytime there's like a police shooting, I'm like, well, could you have controlled the situation better? And this one, I'm not going to say that because I don't know anything about it. And there was a car driving at the guy, supposedly. I don't know. But in general, that's kind of my take is like, it's a tough thing. And so when I see all these people jumping on as experts that have probably never carried a gun or been in that position, it's like, give me a break to be for or against it.
Yeah.
Because nobody should be for it.
No.
It's not good.
No, nobody should be for it. Being for it is ridiculous. And looking at like the big picture about like why it happened, you can't like necessarily blame evil, all sorts of stuff. Like where it's, especially when you have like the ICE officer, like these are people that are in a role that did not exist a year ago. I get fucking ads on YouTube to go and apply to be an ICE officer.
I will say the counter to that too is this could have been a guy that's been doing it for 10 years. And he's just like, I have a pension. Like, I know you hate me because I'm doing this job because this is what a Trump administration wants me to do. But I've been doing this 10, 15, 20 years and I'm like 3 years away from my pension. So I'm just not going to get fired. Like that guy might be facing that too. Might say it sucks. I don't know. People just get so wrapped up in what they want to see or believe. It's like, well, people aren't necessarily trying to be bad.
Yeah. And sometimes they are.
Maybe he was, though. He could also be a psychotic murderer.
You know, I also think that there are those guys that are in that position that are out for blood, just like there was people that went to war because they're like, I want to fucking kill people. I want to kill the bad
100%. Guys. Yes. And when the people in America become the bad guy, then you're kind of like, it's tough.
Yeah. So.
Anyways, they don't do that shit in Washington. They don't do that in Washington.
How you feeling, Dylan?
I'm fine. I was just checking my email.
Well, this is how I know you don't do real business because your keyboard was quiet as shit. So yeah.
I said checking. I wasn't doing anything. I was trying to get you guys some loan docs earlier. That's what I was doing.
I know.
Yeah, we'll get that done. Yeah. All right, we got distracted. Mike and I love this stuff.
Well, for the people who are still in the off-market business, one thing, this will just be real quick, that I have done that has revived some old leads is just reach out to some people you haven't talked to in 2 or 3 months and start a conversation with, hey, it's 2026, tax situation change, people's goals change, people's plans change. What are you trying to do with 123 Main Street? And I bet I've reached out to about 50 people since the new year. And 2 of them, I think, are going to be deals.
Nice.
And those are leads that are just sitting there in the CRM that are free, not free marketing dollars. You already spent it, but you don't have to spend more.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'd say that's a good tactic people can use to hopefully drive some more revenue to their business.
I think that's super valid because people, like, it's human nature to have some like invisible demarcation from December 31st to January 1st. And especially if it was a lead that came in that November timeframe where people are like, well, I'll just talk to you after the holidays, because like they apparently just shut down for the holidays, especially if you're in the northern climates like we all are. Like when there's snow and people just don't want to do anything, you call them January, though, they're ready to pop off and sell their house all of a sudden.
And some of these boomer people, they will do everything in their power not to pay Uncle Sam. So they only sell one property a year. And so you're like, hey, and actually some of these, I've already sold a property for them before. So it's like, hey, man, it's a new year. What are you going to do with this other property? Yeah.
What are you peeling off the portfolio?
Yeah.
You want to know how funny that is? I'm going to have this situation. So we bought this house on seller financing because the guy didn't want to pay taxes and he didn't want his Medicare Medicare premiums to go up to show income. So we were just paying him $600 principal only, no interest, just every year. We've been paying him for 4 or 5 years, Mike. Anyways, we sold the property and he's like, I don't want the money back. He doesn't want it back so bad that he gave us an unsecured loan for the rest. And they're like, keep it in your bank account.
Wait, shut up.
Okay. We've just had this dude's money sitting in our bank account for like 8 months.
Yes. And you know what? We're honest Abes over here. We haven't done, it's been sitting in our bank account. We haven't done anything with it. We just write him a check for $600. So the note itself, the original note, was due 6-7 days ago. And I emailed that we work with his son because the guy's a little bit older. And I was like, hey, we've got the money. Tell me how he wants the money, a check. I'll meet him, a bag of cash. I don't care. If he's really worried about taxes, I'm happy to keep paying him $600 a month. He's like, okay, let me talk to my dad about it. So I think he's just going to give us the money.
I hope you pay him in cash, like a duffel bag.
But so much to avoid taxes. He's like, don't give me my money. I don't know who you guys are, basically. He really doesn't. We only talked to him like 3 times.
Yeah.
We should like really do something with that though.
But that's the taxes one part. But honestly, like the older people who are going to that Medicare, that's a real concern for them. So if you can structure deals kind of like you guys did, you're going to win more deals than other people.
Yeah. Yeah, that does help. It is a significant jump. I've talked to my father-in-law about that recently because he's on Medicare and having to deal with like the RMDs and stuff like that. And he's basically like, yeah, now I'm going to have to, pay 25% tax or whatever it is. And then all of my Medicare goes up. And so it's like, damn, but he's at a point where he's forced to do it.
Yeah, there's a chain effect to that.
I know. And where it gets very significant is when it's going back to the beginning of the show, those people that all of their value is in their house. They have no other income. They have no other assets. And so they're going to sell this house. It's appreciated a shit ton. So even though it's their primary residence, they still have to pay capital gains on it. Mm-hmm. Right. And it's going to affect their Medicare.
Wait, what do you mean? Why would they have to pay capital? Oh, because they're over the threshold?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if you have that where you're at, but out here we do.
Yeah. What's the threshold right now?
It's $250 if you're single, $500 if you're married.
Still at $500.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have some of these people out in North Idaho that like they bought their house for like $60,000 and some Cracker Jacks, like not even that long ago in like the 90s. Now they can sell things for $700.
Dude, I have that problem in my house right now, damn near. Like, and I bought it 5 years ago. Like, we had a run up.
Yeah, yeah, you do because you got a deal on yours, and your house is like prime for the area. But that affects so many things, and when it's rental property is even worse. Like there was a series of time, I feel like in 21 especially, where you had a lot of these older, they were like widowers or something that had a rental property that was like their husband owned, or it was an old primary residence. Sometimes it was even like their son that lived there, right? And COVID happened and the tenant, even if it was the son, just like stopped paying, right? And they're like, well, I don't want to like kick my son out, so I'll sell you the house for 50 cents on the dollar and then you can fucking take care of Timmy.
Deal with this. Yeah.
Then you show up and the son's like 55 and just like an asshole. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But those situations, you go into it and multiple times we would run into where like they were going to get completely screwed because their Social Security would take such a huge jump. And the gains that they were going to be getting weren't enough to cover that long, like not even like the next 10 years. Right, of Social Security for them. Like if they're only making like 120 on their house, right? And so it was always a challenge.
This is actually when seller finance can come in because
totally,
you do it, and if you do the low interest or like no interest, like you don't pay income tax on principal. You only pay it on interest accrued.
So yeah, so basically you pay income tax on the interest that you pay every year, and then your capital gains, if you have capital gains, those basically are It's like prorated. So you only pay capital
Correct.
gains on the principal that gets paid down every single year.
Right. Which also includes a down payment. Like if you got a down payment on top of that. Yeah.
Which includes down payment. Correct. Yeah. You pay capital gains on that. So, there's lots of different ways it could be structured to be effective, but then you got to find someone that understands that and is going to be okay with that, which is a whole other ball game.
This is like, here's another tactic for people, which I've said before, is trying to sell a house. It's kind of in a crappy part of town, but I did like the cash buyer radius search, like who's bought cash like near here. But if you try to wholesale a deal to someone who doesn't know what wholesaling is, it is very challenging.
Yeah.
And eventually they just didn't do it because I could not educate them enough on what this actually is. They thought I was the sleaziest guy ever, but.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, so talk sleazy on this front. So my neighbors across the street, awesome people. Talked to them about what we do and everything, and they kind of got an interest in this. And they own a landscaping contracting company. They want to flip a house. So I connected them with some wholesalers. They've been looking at stuff and they'll send me a deal. One came through, they want to put an offer on. Okay. And I'm like talking to him, I'm like, I don't really like this deal, and we're going back and forth. And then he calls me.
Who's the wholesaler?
It was not who we're thinking of.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a different company. I'm not going to say who it was.
You can tell me later. You can tell me later. Okay.
So it comes through and he's like, so I was looking to make an offer on the house and then I need a real estate agent to represent me on the purchase because you didn't understand that it was like an assignment, right? And then I called her, she called the wholesaler, and then I don't know why, but the price went up. And I was like, this bitch. And I was like, what? And he was kind of like walking me through it. And I was like, oh, so here's what happened.
The realtor's trying to get their fee.
Is the realtor figured out there wasn't a fee. So they are now charging you more money to represent. And I was like, just so you know, you don't have to use an agent if you're buying a wholesale deal. You just work directly with the wholesaler.
They had an agent with them?
Well, so he contacted an agent that he knew to represent him. And it was significant. It was like a $250 was the original price. And all of a sudden she's like, yeah, it's going to be $265 now. It was like $15,000 on this thing.
Dude, if he needs an agent, I'll do that.
Right? No shit.
I'll make 15 grand.
I was like, you can tell her to F off. He's like, yeah, that really kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I'm like, yeah, it should, because that's bad.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Right.
I want to know the agent's name. You can tell me off air.
Was the deal even good?
No, it's trash.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I was like, if I was buying this, I'd want it at like 220, 225, and then by the time the agent got it, it was like 264 or some shit. And it was originally at 250. And I was like, yeah.
You know what I love that I don't see anymore? I don't see the 3 daisy chain HUDs anymore.
Yeah.
Like that was a thing a while ago.
It was.
Oh God, that's gone.
Yeah. Well, now they've gotten more clever on that. Now they just double close and you don't see it at all.
Yeah. I mean, you could still like find that out though, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Anyways. All right, guys. Well, anything else to wrap up?
I'm good. We got to talk about all my favorite topics today.
There we go.
Not fatties.
Yeah, not fatties.
No fatties. No fatties.
Yeah. God damn. Your algorithm,
dude.
is fucked, Dan.
Bro, you sent me the first one. I was just telling you who he looks like.
Yeah, that's true. But what do you guys think? Do you guys want to have Greg on next week?
Let's get Gregory back.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm good with Greg.
Right on. He hit me up. So next week we will have Greg Helbeck, friend of the show, come and hang out with us for an hour. So if you have kids in the car while he's on, make sure that they have their earmuffs on. Because it's funny. Last time he was on, my dad listened and he's like, that guy you had on, he was really funny. He's like, God, his language was atrocious.
Yeah. He's straight out of New York, man.
Yeah.
So, but all right. So look forward to that next time. And thanks for listening, everybody. And we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
See y'all.
This episode is sponsored by Sir Lancelot LLC, also known as SLA Capital, which, if you didn't know, is Dan and I's private lending company. So yes, we are sponsoring our own show, but what you going to do about it? It is our private lending company that offers hard money and DSCR loans to real estate investors of all types. So you can be a new investor, an experienced investor. You can be buying flips. You can be buying rentals, whatever. We can do everything. And not only that, but the rates that we offer are just as competitive, if not cheaper, than pretty much every other company out there. So whatever big company you've been working with, bring us their term sheets and I guarantee you that we can probably beat it. We have the same connections they do. We just don't have all the overhead and middlemen. So if you want to come and check us out, go to slacapital.com/keys and I will know that you came from the show. And by seeing that you came from here, when you get to closing, you will save $500 on your first loan with us. So slacapital.com/keys, we would love to fund your next deal. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you want more from us, you can shoot us a follow on Instagram. I am at Mike_invest. Dan is at InvestorMan Dan. And Dylan is at Dylan_does_deals. Shoot us a follow and send us a DM to let us know what you think of the show.